The Laughing Cavalier here, presenting to you another tale of these troubled times, and it's another unscripted video with my usual angry notes. So, I was just browsing the internet recently when suddenly I see this pop up from our old friend Stars Media, responsible for such things as the White Queen, the White Princess, the Spanish Princess, and my blood pressure increasing. And so, if you didn't know, they're going to make a new drama about Elizabeth I. So, oh God. So the article I got this from is called The Wrap. There's a few other ones that talk about it, but this is the main one I'll use. I think this is the most detailed one I could find about it. So, Teen Queen Elizabeth I drama, Becoming Elizabeth, ordered to series at Stars. Which, just right off the bat, the title of it alone, like Becoming Elizabeth, that sounds a bit odd. It sounds more like, something like Keeping Up with the Kardashians or something else you see on like E! Entertainment, not about Elizabeth I. So 8-episode tells, quote, fascinating story of the early life of England's most iconic queen, unquote. While Netflix continues to tell the tale of Queen Elizabeth II with The Crown, Starz is bringing the story of the first Queen Elizabeth to a small screen near you, with a series order for new drama, Becoming Elizabeth. Which, by the way, I love they always like mention things like, oh, The Crown. It's like, it's got a monarch called Elizabeth in it, so therefore you'll love this one with another monarch called Elizabeth in it, even though I'd hardly say Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Elizabeth II are similar people. But anyway, created and written by award-winning playwright and television screenwriter Anya Rice, who I've never heard of until now, and I googled this a bit, and well, apparently she's written some episodes of EastEnders, so to my American and Canadian subscribers, of which there are many, according to my YouTube analytics, who probably don't know what EastEnders is. It's, think, kind of one of the worst sort of soap dramas you can. Put it in London, have really bad plots, and have a pub that burns down every 5 years when they run out of ideas, and it's basically EastEnders. So that'd be interesting to see how people write tutor dramas. So, Becoming Elizabeth is the fascinating story of the early life of England's most iconic queen, according to Starz. Long before she ascended the throne, young Elizabeth Tudor was an orphaned teenager. Orphan? I mean, technically after 1547, yes. And I suppose you could argue, she was sort of a bit pushed out by her dad. But it's like, orphan sounds more like, if you say somebody's an orphan, I think more like, Little Orphan Annie or somebody's like in an orphanage, not. But I guess that's a pedantic point. So, anyway. Young Elizabeth Tudor was an orphan teenager who became embroiled in the political and sexual politics of the English court. Oh boy, we've not seen enough of the sexual politics in Tudor England. With no clear heir, the death of Henry VIII sets in motion a dangerous scramble for power. Okay, so are we just going to ignore the whole act of succession that he passed, where he clearly stated, right, Edward is my heir, then it's Mary, then Elizabeth? I know there was, when Edward died, there was the scramble because they didn't want Mary to become queen, but Henry VIII was pretty clear, I think. His surviving children find themselves pawns in a game between the great families of England and the powers of Europe who vie for control of the country. Also, we're going to have a bit of French and Spanish interference, apparently. Elizabeth struggles to control her own destiny and take real power as the men around her attempt to claim her sovereignty. So, claim her sovereignty? I mean, either that means she's going to be her own country, or that's another innuendo, isn't it, to, sexual politics. Oh, God. Her fascinating and factual journey. I need like an alarm bell. I just ring whenever something I know is off is said. Factual journey. How factual is this going to be? Let's be honest. It Stars Media. We've had factual things like Zombie Elizabeth Woodville, Margaret Beaufort murdering the Princess of the Tower. What was it going to be in this one? I don't know. Lady Jane Grey invents nuclear power or something. Nuclear fission. I don't know. So her fascinating and factual journey to secure the crown is filled with scheming, betrayal, and illicit relationships that threaten to bring forth her demise at a time in which every man or woman of the court is on the on the wheel of fortune. I'm just picturing like a game show, just all the Tudors on it now, which may take them to a position of great power one moment, or the executioner's block the next. So yeah, so we got the usual sort of, all the very good sort of talk, but. Yeah, excuse me, you're probably saying, oh, Cavalier, you're being very pessimistic and nasty about this. It's only just been announced. It's like, well, I've seen the other ones that have... You'll excuse me if I'm a bit pessimistic so far. So, Rice will serve as leader on the 8-episode season and will be joined by an all-female writing team, including... And then there's a load of people I've never heard of. Senior Vice President of the original programming, Karen Bailey, is the star's executive in charge of Becoming Elizabeth. Again, never heard of her. The world of Becoming Elizabeth is visceral, and dangerous judgments are rendered quickly, and no one is safe. Star CEO Jeffrey A. Hirsch said, "This series explores the Tudor reign and young Elizabeth, who would become England's Gloriana, and one of England's most dynamic figures. Through, I've got need the alarm bell again. Through a new lens." There's always the same words, and we're looking at it through a new lens. It's the true story, the real history, by which we mean we're going to just not do that. We'll make it all up and just claim it's real. But you won't know the difference, because you're just little people, not big-brained like us at Stars Media, which we think viewers will find highly engaging. Well, it's giving me new rant videos to make, so I suppose I can't complain. This is Elizabeth as you've never seen her before. A teenager finding her ways in the treacherous world, and in Anya's hand she's a truly electrifying character. However, I don't mean she's going to invent electricity, that'll be... Stars immediately embrace the ambition and vision of the... Rice... Oh, here we go, we've got the writer herself talking now. Rice added, "Drama seems to skip straight from Henry VIII's turnstile of wives to an adult white-faced Gloriana, missing out boy kings, or well, one king, religious fanatics, secret affairs, and a young orphan teenager trying to save herself from the vicious scramble to the top." It's like, have writers just got amnesia? Are we forgetting things like Elizabeth R, where the first episode is literally her rise to power? There was that other Elizabeth, I think it was also called Elizabeth R in 2005, where again the first episode is her rise to power. And I think even the Kate Blanchett one that's a good chunk of the first part of the film is just her becoming queen. So, but no, it's never been done before, guys. It's new lenses, new perspectives here. I should have found it hard to relate to 500-year-old royalty, but Elizabeth lived in dangerous, polarising times and often made terrible hormone-fueled decisions. I found writing her story a thrilling experience. So, that's all of the info we got so far, but, oh dear. Given the track record, I'm not too confident. So I've got a few predictions based on the little bit we got here. So there are some good things to come out of this announcement. Good things. There's no Emma Frost or Philippa Gregory. Excellent. The further away they are from period dramas, the better. Because apparently also I don't know how close Stars is involved in this, because according to what I've read, it's being made by some other company called The Forge, who do stuff for Channel 4, and they're making it on behalf of Stars, so I don't know whether... I think Stars are providing the money, so I've not seen anything this Forge company's made, but hey, Channel 4, they did that good Elizabeth series about 14 years ago. Maybe they'll make it, they might make it authentic. Maybe. They're not, are they? So that's all the good things I've got, I'm afraid. So more bad things. They've not announced casting, but that is very important. I wonder how they're going to cock that up. So obviously we're definitely going to have Elizabeth, Mary, yeah, Edward, of course, and Lady Jane Grey. They're definitely going to be in it. No doubt they'll probably find a 30-year-old to play, Lady Jane Grey or something, even though she was like 16. I don't know who they're going to get for Elizabeth, though. I mean, seeing as they're not getting actors from Game of Thrones in there, there's like Sophie Turner, maybe? But no, I think she's a bit too upmarket now for that. So maybe they'll get somebody you've never heard of. That'll be, or they'll be like, they were in Game of Thrones, they were in this episode. You see them just there, they're standing in the background of this scene. What I'm more and more worried about, though, is will they have people like Somerset and Northumberland in there, or are they just going to sort of gloss over them a bit? So, because there's a lot of really interesting political things that happened during this kind of period. It's called the Mid-Tudor Crisis, sort of period from sort of 1547 to 1558, where basically Henry VIII, how to put it politely, sort of cocks everything up and then dies before the fallout really comes down. So, first of all, he had a big old war with the French and further bankrupted the country, and all he got out of it was Boulogne, the expense of which is further bankrupting England. At the same time, he's invaded Scotland to try and capture the young Mary Queen of Scots, which fails, but the English army is still up there trying to fight them. So yeah, things aren't looking too great, and Somerset comes in, and it's already a bit of a bad situation, but then he has all sorts of problems. There's the rebellion in the West Country around Cornwall over the Prayer Book. There's Kett's rebellion up in Norfolk, near where I am, over Enclosure. And basically then Somerset, he's kicked from power. And then Northumberland comes along, and he's actually a really good ruler, but the problem is because then he tries to do the Lady Jane Grey thing, and he gets executed, and then there's Wyatt's rebelling against Mary, and lots of other interesting things. Are they going to mention that? I don't know. I don't think they will, though. One of the things I'm wondering is, because it's For what I understand, it's going to cover the early years of Elizabeth. Are they going to do the whole 11-ish years, so 1547 to 1558? Or are they going to like really drag it out and sort of split it in half, so have like, sort of 1547 to maybe sort of Mary becoming queen, and maybe go a little bit beyond, maybe like Lady Jane Grey's execution, and then have a second season where it's just Mary? I don't know. So, and again, I'm perhaps being a little judgmental because I've not seen any of the productions these people have written, but they can't write good characters. It seems a lot of these ones, particularly when they've written things like EastEnders. Not saying you can't write good period dramas if you've written EastEnders, but looking good. I mean, most of these sort of ones at the minute, they're just like, I'm a strong character. Yes, I'm strong as well. I shout a lot. Yes, I do as well. I hate you. Yes, I do as well. Let's argue for 7 episodes about something. Yes. Oh, by the way, they're going to move forward 2 years next episode, so I'm going to be played by a 50-year-old. So, look out for that. Okay. So, yeah, I'll be keeping a close eye on this one. I expect, because they're still filming The Spanish Princess, so this will be the next one they'll film. And if I had to guess, I'd say about 2021 it'll be out, so we've got some time to get ready for it. In the meantime, this has been The Laughing Cavalier, wishing you a good day.